What's up? It's Garson, and I want to talk about half-casters, specifically Ranger, and why I think they get the short end of the stick. And what I mean by that is, I think of half-casters as this really awesome middle ground where you give up the full potential of attacking with a weapon, and you give up the full potential of casting spells, and you should do something in the middle, like Ensnaring Strike, putting it all together, and being really strong. Like, that's your forte, right? And as you can see here, I've got an Eldritch Knight, a third caster, the Ranger, which we're going to use as a focal point, the full caster Swords Bard, doing the same thing as the half caster, and even a weird example like the Arcane Archer. No spell slots, but effectively the same thing. So let's dive into it. This is going to be a talkity talk video. I really appreciate you guys for requesting stuff like this. I like talking about this kind of stuff. So let's dive into it. And first and foremost, Ranger is great. Ranger is a great class. It's probably one of the ones I've really 180'd on. I've played all of them. I'm not a hater, but go ahead, tell me in the comments I hate Ranger. All right, so caster marshals, let's build them up a little bit. I think this is where it gets kind of stupid. And I'm not going to pull any punches, and I'm going to try and be brief here. Ready? So the EK, the Eldritch Knight, is a third caster. Really simply put, you're getting spell slots every third level. Okay, that's when you get the subclass. That's when it gives you access. So going into Arcane Trickster or Eldritch Knight, in this example, right, we're going to get our subclass at level 3, which means we're only going to max out at level 2 spells at full class, right? Level 12. So typically we're going to use spells to just enhance what we're already good at. We're not going to get like a special move. We're just going to pull from the list of a wizard spells to enhance our martial prowess, maybe Misty Step to teleport, maybe lock a door with Arcane Lock, blur or protection from good and evil. We don't really use concentration too much, at least I don't with my fighters, so it gives me something to do with that concentration. And maybe you'll stay in the subclass. Like, we're going to gloss over Arcane Trickster, but they do have the uniqueness at level 10 Magical Ambush. This is something casters cannot do, and you may stay in the subclass while gaining all the other perks of being a high-level rogue, right? Sneak attack damage for one. But the EK directly in this comparison with the Ranger, I don't get a cool move like Ensnaring Strike that uses my spell slot. And until recently with Booming Blade, we didn't actually have a cantrip that mixes casting and cantrips with weapon attacks. So they really just were a fighter that had extra attack, extra attack, and if they did cast, like say, Shocking Grasp, they could use their bonus action to attack with their weapon. So there was something really cool about mixing fighting and casting, but it was definitely leaning on the other side. And to their credit, Eldritch Inertia would be something that is unique to them when it comes to casting. And of course, the whole idea is blending, weaving, casting, and fighting together. So we don't have access, if we don't multi-class, we still have access to spells, cantrips, and mainly I think of EK, mostly the way you want to run an EK or an Arcane Trickster is enhancing your fighting prowess with some spell slots like Long Strider, Misty Step, Concentration, right? So we trade off high level casting in favor of doing more of what we do, attack, and we might have some special niches like Magical Ambush or Eldritch Inertia or War Magic. So that's pretty in line, especially with my expectations. You're going to give up things to lean one way or the other, or the half caster, which sits in the middle. So of course I'm going to use Ranger as the focal point, but I'm talking about Paladins too. We are a class, no subclass. We are a class set up to be in the middle ground. We're only going to get half the supply of spell slots every 2 levels. We upgrade our caster level, so we're only going to max out at level 3 spell slots at level 12. And there is actually a typical unique way of using both our attacking weapon attacks, right, and our spell casting, like Ensnare Strike, for instance. But look at Ensnare Strike, because we're going to focus on this action, bonus action, level slot, attack roll, concentration, and you have to know what the saving throw does to get the effect. All right, so you're going to land a weapon attack, and it's going to use your bonus action and concentration to do a spell effect on top of that. So, okay, we're literally mixing 2 sides of it in a very unique way that's exclusive to the Ranger. Obviously, Paladins have Smite, and then there's some other things you could get the deeper you go into your class, making it worthwhile to stay in and not just multi-class for more fighting or more spell casting, right? At least that's the ideal of it. So we're going to gloss over Paladins, but they obviously get their auras, their oath charges, their lay on hands, and they do get passive smites per melee hit at level 11. And then of course there's subclass perks. So Paladins got a very good identity. So Ranger, though, Ranger has an identity in that they also get extra attack. They don't miss a beat. Multi-classing aside, they can get their level 5 extra attack. They do get choices of resistances, and you get more choices as you go along. There's proficiencies. Maybe you want to take sleight of hand. You don't have to dip into like a rogue or some other class. And they get land stride. They ignore terrain at level 7. And then we can talk about subclass perks. So they have an identity. I like Rangers. But we take the middle ground. Once again, we're taking the caster side and the fighter martial side, and we're not going to multi-class. We get something in the middle. Now, we're going to use our spell slots to empower unique attacks at the first level. At the third level, we could get something like Barrage. So there's exclusive spells or spell attacks that we get in the half caster. And we're going to give up high-level spell casting. We can't upgrade, we can't go to the highest level of Ensnaring Strike, for instance, right? So we can't bring this all the way up to, wow, I don't know why it's not letting me upcast. But yeah, Ensnaring Strike does upcast. We can't take it to level 6. That's the sacrifice we take, right? So maybe there's also a unique resource. Paladins are way better at this. There's the Oath charges. There's the Channel Oath charge. There's the Lay on Hands, right? So Rangers don't really get a unique resource, but I guess they have Hunter's Mark, Barrage, all that stuff. Okay, cool. So here's the thing. This is where, like I said, I'm not going to pull any punches. Where this comparison and this identity gets lost, in my opinion, is there's 3 subclasses in the game for full spellcasters where the subclass not only gives them extra attack, but usually another perk on top of it, which is kind of crazy. So you get your full spell slots. By level 12, you're going to have level 6 spell slots, so you can upcast something like Cloud of Daggers to its highest level of damage and concentrate on that while attacking. Then you enjoy no slowdown in your progress to getting spell slots. And you have access, like I said, to upcasting the highest spell levels, something like Dominate Person or Hold Monster, something that half-casters don't get access to. And the only cost I perceive is that your extra attack is a single level later, right? And typically, to make up for this, as if you needed to make up for this, you have access to really powerful spells that half-casters don't usually get, not on their face at least, right? So you can have access to Counterspell, Haste, Freedom of Movement, Dimension Door, stuff that actually doesn't have anything to do with your charisma spellcasting, right? And this really empowers you when you're able to attack with a weapon and still have these benefits of being a high-level caster. And we're going to gloss over these, right? But Bladesinger is a wizard with extra attack. Do I really need to explain that? But you also get Blade Song, a perk that comes with the subclass. And Mage Armor, who cares that you can't wear high, like heavy and medium armor? You have Mage Armor, Blade Song, and Haste. And they don't skip a beat because they do have Longsword as a great Weapon Master two-handed option for a lot of damage. So they are ridiculous. I love Bladesinger, but man, they're a little broken. Same thing with Valor Bard. Now it gets glossed over, but it's the same thing we're looking at here, just not without the slashing flourish and all that stuff, right? They are full bards with medium armor, shields, and martial proficiencies. They can be anything you want them to be, and that's why I made a Swiss Army knife in my video one. So Swords Bard, once again, and I think is a really great comparison to our Ranger friend here, because we get Bardic Inspire. We even get dual weapon fighting style, 2-weapon fighting style. We get medium armor access. What are we losing, if not just outright gaining, when we have a unique move that doesn't have bonus action, concentration, even spell slot usage? This is effectively a Battle Master maneuver on a full caster that adds damage and lets us shoot somebody twice. And we get extra attack. That means 4 times we could shoot somebody, even in honor mode. We sacrifice nothing effectively, okay? We have our cake and we can eat it too, and we still get some kind of perk or resource to conserve on those spell slots. I don't need to blow spell slots like the Ranger needs to blow spell slots to do its unique move. I have a unique move that lets me get armor class, and I don't have to spend a spell slot, and I still do more damage. I find this really imbalanced with all 3 of these subclasses, even Valor Bard, because you're a full caster first and then you get all of your extra attacks and even some kind of perk that puts you way ahead of even the half caster and its unique niche. And if that wasn't bad enough, there are the weird examples. So we're going to look at Arcane Archer, but let's gloss over basically things that are functionally what I'm talking about. They have the mix between fighting weapon attacks and casting spells, but they do it in a bit of a different way. So like Monk, between 4 elements and Shadow Monk, you still have extra attack at level 5, just like the Ranger. You have the key points instead of spell slots. So if we look at this, same perks here, extra attack on the weapon. You can cast, but just not with spell slots. You have key points on short rest. Fire Snake is that unique move that mixes attacking with spell casting. And then there's literal analog spells like Embrace the Inferno is just Scorching Ray, and so on and so forth. Shadow Monks actually cast Darkness and Silence with their key points. And again, these come back on short rest. You don't have to worry about upcasting and all that nonsense. And this is a very, very efficient and easy resource. Warlocks are even crazier. I'm not going to talk about them other than just they get extra attack at level 5, just like a half caster or even a fighter. They get their cantrip gets 2 shots at level 5 and 3 shots at level 11 or level 10. Yeah, so they're not missing a beat on a ranged weapon, and they get a lot of spell slots in short rest and even a level 6 spell slot, and they only have to focus on charisma. I think warlocks are broken. They're my favorite class, by the way. All right, so Arcane Archer is the best example for these weirdos that do the whole half caster thing without even being a caster. Okay, they cast spells with their ranged attacks. If they land this, they land this, and they have a lot of choices, and some of these are level 5 spells with the access to a level 5 spell effect while attacking at level 3. That's kind of crazy, and there's no concentration. They don't need spell slots. The resource comes back on short rest. You get a lot of them. You get triple attack because you're a fighter at level 11. You have a lot of feats as a fighter. So why am I focusing on Ranger? If you couldn't tell, I think they got the short end of the stick, and there's no hate. Again, I think they're just a great focal point for this topic. I'm actually picking on Swords Bard and Blade Singers and even Valor Bards because I think it's ridiculous of what they get. And then when we get to the weirdos like Arcane Archer, it's kind of ridiculous how streamlined the whole half-caster identity is on a subclass for fighters, among other examples. So if we didn't have stuff like this, I think you could definitely tell Ranger and the whole half-caster was designed first, and other things like Arcane Archer was designed later, not just for BG3, but I guess tabletop. So obviously something like the half-caster looks a lot better if you didn't have something like these subclasses, Blade Singer, Swords Bard, because there's a balance between I'm not a full caster, I'm not a full martial, but I do get both without multi-classing. I'm not sacrificing my scaling up to level 5. I still get my extra attack, and I have unique things to do with all my resources that are costly, but should really synergize and make me great at a thing that I'm supposed to do, not you. But that's the thing. This game, and I guess D&D in general, has multi-classing, and I kind of hate seeing this where somebody says, check out my paladin, but it's actually just a 10 level Blade Singer with 2 levels of paladin. Like all you are is a Blade Singer with smite. Now, I'm not throwing shade at anybody who does this. I'm saying I get tired of seeing this because it's not a paladin, first off, but also it's like, yeah, they're smart. Right? The player is smart for going with a lot of spell slots and great features with extra attack on a full caster. And if they want the Divine Smite, they'll just dip 2 levels in Paladin. That unique thing about Paladin, and you can make the same argument about Ensnaring Strike or Hunter's Mark. If I really want to use this and then just get way more bang for my buck, I'll just go 10 levels into Wizard, and I'll also go 2 levels into Ranger, get the fighting style, get the Hunter's Mark, and dip out. Even level 5. Level 5 is an incredible base of Paladin or Ranger, where you just take the extra attack. You didn't really have too bad of a time getting your spell slots, but by level 6 and onward, you're like, it's time to step on the gas and get as many spell slots as I can until I'm level 12, right? So there's got to be incentives to stay in the class to meet the identity, at least in my opinion. Isn't there some reason I should stay in the class and give up spell slots? Paladin is a lot easier to make that case. For Rangers, not so much. Do you really need another resistance? Do you need cold resistance? Go play through the game again. Tell me how many times you really need cold resistance. Do you need Landstride? There's a lot of gear, boots, rings that give you the ability that Landstride gives you. Do you really need to stay in it? It's not that hard. Boots aren't that hard to come by that have this ability. And there's also a caster who could cast freedom of movement on you. It's kind of ridiculous. And if you wanted to stay in the class for spell slots, you're doing it wrong. You need to multi-class, because I can tell you right now, I don't think Barrage, the fact that you cannot get Sharpshooter or a lot of bonuses on this, really makes something unique like Barrage not very powerful, not worthwhile. I have to go to level 9 for a level 3 spell that nobody else has access to, just me, the Ranger, but it's not worth it. And Lightning Arrow, I don't know what they were thinking with Lightning Arrow. I think it's cool, but it is effectively a different form of the Lightning Bolt spell. They're both lightning spells at level 3 spells, right? They do arguably the same damage, just in a different way. This hits an area, right? And it makes you look like you're using your weapon, but this is not a weapon attack at all. This is just a spell. So Barrage at least uses my weapon. Lightning Arrow, not so much. And they're both costly level 3 spells, which I don't get a lot of as I level up. So is it a good class, or is the subclass good? I think this is also really important. I think Ranger is good. We've talked about that. But let's just examine the Gloomstalker for a second. If I told you you had Disguise Self, Umbral Shroud, which is invisibility with no spell slot usage, Misty Step, sure, it's a spell, but we could kick that out of the argument. And then you get the bonus initiative and the +1 attack at the beginning of combat. If I told you you get this as a fighter subclass, you would all in. You would think this is way better Gloomstalker than Ranger, easily. Because you get more feats, you get the triple attack, you get like the fighting style way earlier, not way earlier, but you get the fighting style like a level earlier. You have action surge without multi-classing. Like, yeah, I'm gonna take Gloom Fighter all day. It might even be better on a bard or a wizard that doesn't have extra attack. I don't know. I just think Gloom's features are not the reasoning I'm going to stay in my Ranger and justify why Ranger is a good class. And that's sad, because Gloomstalker is clearly a great subclass. It just might be better on an actual like fighter subclass, right? So Arcane Archer also kind of does the direct comparison thing really badly. Like, again, let's just look at what I feel Rangers should be doing. Something really special is, or the half-casters in general, use your action, your bonus action, your spell slot, your concentration, your attack roll, your saving throws. You got to know everything. You got to use spell slots. You got to know what a saving throw is. You got to put it all together. You got to land the shot, and you also got to land the saving throw, and you got to concentrate on it, and you got to use spell slots. And what if you run out of spell slots? You can only use Ensnaring Strike 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Then you got to know how to upcast it, and maybe you'll upcast it to the 3rd level, and you only have one real unique spell for the longest time. Arcane Archers at level 3 have a streamlined resource, no spell slots, no upcasting, everything costs 1 arrow. This is considered an attack, so you can use triple shadow arrows in 1 turn. You are casting and attacking at the same time, sort of like Ensnaring Strike. You have to land the attack, and then you have to know how the saving throws work, but there's no concentration, bonus action, and all that stuff. And you even get level 5 spells at level 3. So even the full caster I was arguing is bullcrap is also jealous of the Arcane Archer, which has a level 5 spell slot with no concentration. For a mere Arcane Arrow, you can banish 3 targets in 1 turn before even action surging. Okay, Piercing, by the way, is a unique example where at level 3 I have effectively the same move as Barrage, but I can use it 3 times, right? Not at level 3, but you get my point. So you have Piercing Arrow, Barrage, right? Then I got to go to level 9 to access arguably the same attack, and it's worse because I can only use it once per turn, and I have to blow a level 3 spell slot for it. So they both aren't that good, but if you were going to use barrage or piercing, it's kind of better because you get it at level 3. You can shoot it 3 times and it only costs 1 spell slot, quote unquote, right? So blind is also insanely good on the arcane archer because it's a whiz save. So even if any of these guys had the ability to blind somebody, it's not gonna work because blind is a constitution saving throw, which happens a lot more than the wisdom saving throws, and you have to cast this, right? And it lasts for 10 turns. That's great. Or you could just target the wisdom saving throw, do a bunch of extra psychic damage, sharpshooter damage, and blind them without concentration needed. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. And you get guidance, even crazier. So I guess that kind of like solidifies my sort of argument for why I think Ranger got the short end of the stick. I do want to hear in the comments what you guys have to say. I personally have played Rangers plenty. I think they're awesome, even if we're not talking about the subclasses. Even with all the things against them, Rangers are a good class, don't get me wrong. Don't hate on them. I don't want to see any hate for Rangers, but as far as I know, Larian did a great job translating them over to BG3. I'm not a tabletop player, but I still want to hear opinions from even tabletop players. In my opinion, it's the problem with full casters. Full casters getting extra attack is a little ridiculous to me to have all of this, the perks that come with the class, the full spell casting with level 6 spell slots and so on and so forth. I really don't think these should be a thing. Personally, if they were a thing like they are, like maybe they should have some kind of sacrifice, like extra attack comes in at level 10 or 11, you know, match with the EK that doesn't get a lot of spell slots, right? But they get triple attack. Match that up with, yeah, you get extra attack, but maybe you get extra attack at level 10, right? And Arcane Archer really just streamlines what I expect from a Ranger or a half caster in general. This is really not fair when stacked up against something like this is loaded, or even something a little more equivalent like Grasping Arrow. But I want to know, do you think Rangers and maybe the other half casters or EKs, or maybe the full casters should get adjusted like I was talking about? I want to hear from you. Or do you disagree with all of this or any of this? That's also really cool. And that's why I enjoy the comments and chat section, because you guys ask, hey, what's your opinion of these kind of subjects? And it's just great that you guys want to listen, but I also want to listen too. I want to hear from you guys. Otherwise, just check out the videos on the left or the right if you're just interested in more stuff. Maybe check out the pinned comments and maybe I'll drop some playlists, or come join the live stream where I get good video ideas and topics to talk about, because you guys are in there in chat supporting the channel, and you guys are my sponsors. So thank you so much for watching. YouTube support is $1 a month, and I thank everybody who does that. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one.